This Art Winnie dry fly has a couple of different names. Most commonly it's called a Michigan Caddis. He was a barber in Michigan, prolific fly tyer. It's estimated that he tied over 200,000 flies commercially. It's also called the Fore and Aft because it has hackle at the tail end as well as at the eye end of the hook. I'm tying this fly on a number 8 hook with gray thread. I have a pinch of deer hair that I'm using for the tail, about the length of the shank. I'll just wrap that in, wrap up over the top of that. I want a nice even body because it is going to be a floss body. And I'm going to build a little bit of bulk with the tail as well as with tying in the floss or the back hackle. I'll get my thread about halfway or a little closer to the end and tie in the first hackle. I'm using ginger rooster neck. So I just clip off the butt end of that hackle feather and then clip off the barbs right next to the rachis at the butt end to give it a crew cut. That gives me something to tie in with. It grabs that rachis as I wrap it onto the hook shank. And then I'll just wrap back towards the tail. Get that wrapped in, bring my thread up out of the way. Grab that hackle feather with my hackle plier and then wrap it. And it's a pretty healthy aft hackle. Kind of a unique approach to a dry fly, putting that hackle at the back. So I'm wrapping up over that hackle stem or rachis. I'll go ahead and clip that out. And then I'll bring my thread up to the front. I got some barbs here from that clipped out section. I'll get rid of those. The body is yellow floss. So I'll go ahead and tie that floss in up at the front. And then I'll wrap back over that. Looks like I've managed to catch some of the hackle. I'll just take a pick and pull that hackle out. I'll wrap that back to where I've got the hackle and then bring my thread up to the front and then I'll wrap the yellow body on it. And I'm wrapping forward up to where I will have the fore or front hackle and the wing. Now, traditionally contemporarily, we tend to tie our dry fly wings in first, but a close look at the photograph in Mike Valla's book, Founding Flies, the book from which I am tying this Michigan Caddis or Fore and Aft, definitely looks like the fly that Art Winnie tied has those wings tied in after the front hackle. Do the same with the front hackle. I have a ginger hackle feather. I'll pull down on the barbs at the butt end, clip those short to create the crew cut, tie that in, grab that hackle feather with my hackle pliers, and do another good healthy front hackle wrap. My hackle pliers keep coming off that hackle feather. And I'll just go ahead and wrap up pretty close to the eye of the fly, and then that'll get split and covered when I cover in the wing or tie in the wing. So wrap up over that hackle, pull back and wrap underneath of it. I don't want to catch in the hackle fibers. See if I can just snap that tip out of there. Yep. The recipe in Mike Valla's book says to use duck quill. I'm actually going to substitute and use turkey quill for these wings. So I have 2 turkey quill slips. These are dyed light done, and I will hold them. They're fairly long upright wings though, so hold them in pinch wrap and then cinch down on them, wrap over that, get that pulled up straight again. And then wrap back to create the head. And clip off the front. Try to make sure that my eye is clean. And go ahead and take my thread down to the eye, and then wrap back up towards the wing. Sitting on top of the hackle in between it. Not really the way we would tie a dry fly wing now, but definitely what it looks like happens when Winnie tied his fly, looking at the photograph. I'll go ahead and put a whip finish on that. Looks like I'm going to have to clean out a little bit of stuff up around the eye. That's fine. Just push my scissors against the thread to clip it out, and then just clip off these extra I'll put a drop of diluted goop that'll soak into that head. It will dry clear. And then I'll pass a hackle feather, one of the tips I cut off works, through the eye of that hook to make sure that it's clean and ready for a tippet.